Okay, so just a few words on the Zwarte Piet controversy in the Netherlands. Um, Zwarte Piet is basically a sidekick to the traditional Santa Claus. He's sort of seen as a helper, I guess akin to sort of an elf, but he's usually male, sometimes female, usually male, and he's basically wears sort of minstrel type clothes, but the key thing is a blackened face, and yet it's white people doing this. So this has in recent years, and particularly this year, provoked a big controversy in the Netherlands over whether or not it's racist. Now, the Dutch overwhelmingly seem to see this as a traditional event, and they argue this is an example of extreme political correctness. There were a small number of protesters, and there was some unrest a few days ago in, I believe it was the town of Gouda, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So I just want to rein in on some of my thoughts on this, because there's similar implications in the UK regarding legislation, political correctness, traditions and so on. We actually do have a similar event, I believe, in Lancashire, in a small town of Backup, although it's not as well known as Zwarte Piet. Apparently an online petition to keep Zwarte Piet attracted over 1 million people. Now when you consider that the Netherlands has a total population of 16 million, this is a very large proportion of the population, and it's actually shows how emotive the issue is. I think a lot of Dutch really resent the idea that it's being seen as racist. I do struggle to see where the actual racism is, because it's not a case that Zwarte Piet is a slave, or he is seen as a figure of hate or ridicule. In fact, it's a beloved figure. It seems to be that the controversy from black people is that it's white people doing this, so it seems almost mockish. Well, it seems there's a solution to this. Why not just let black people be Zwarte Piet? But then, that in itself, they would probably say is racist. Would it be racist if a black person was refused the position of Santa Claus? Certainly they would think it was. So, one thing I would say is, whether it's right or wrong, calling in the UN is utterly ridiculous. This has got to the point now where some people actually believe there should be an UN inquiry. The UN has to deal with natural disasters, warfare, millions of people going hungry. I think they have bigger things to think about, and I think the people who are pushing it to go to the UN are insane and really need to grow up and just not be so ultra sensitive. Now, I'm not someone who says that it's completely harmless. I mean, for example, the Gollywog in Britain, which is a little black doll, I do think it's dated, I do think it's out of touch. But the thing about Zwarte Piet is it's not a small localised event. This is a national traditional event of the Netherlands. If it was a small event in one town, I would say, yeah, it's had its day, it should probably go. But when it is something that is deeply ingrained in Dutch culture, then it seems ridiculous that an entire nation should be dictated to in that way. The idea that it's some sort of human rights violation is a lot of rubbish. If black people want to protest against it, they should be allowed to. But I would say, do they not have bigger things to be concerned about than white people wearing black on their face? I mean, the point here is Zwarte Piet is an amicable figure, is loved by the Dutch people. I could understand if they had, for example, a black mannequin and they were burning it as an effigy. That would be dark and very racist. I could understand that. But I really... Okay, you might say you're not black, you don't understand. Okay, maybe I don't. But I cannot see how this is racist just because a white person puts on black. I mean, Al Jolson was a white man, and he was well known for being very... he'd done the traditional blackface in vaudeville. He was known for being very anti-racist. So I just think there's a misguided outrage over this from some members of the black Dutch community. To be fair, I have seen a lot of black people comment and they should say they don't care, and they see it as political correctness as well. The Dutch Prime Minister has even weighed in. Mark Rutte said Black Piet is black, there's nothing we could do about that. And it's sort of like, the way I see it is, if this was really hurting the black community in the sense of it was promoting racism, promoting attacks against them, or Zwarte Piet was made out to be a stupid character or a slave or something, I could definitely see the outcry. But the point is, Zwarte Piet is simply an assistant to Santa, and he is held in very amicable light. So I struggle to see where the actual racism is. I don't think it should be banned. Should there be discussion about it? Well, if people are upset by it, then okay, there should be discussion. I don't think it should be banned. And I think probably it is an example of extreme PC, because it's so widespread in the Netherlands. I mean, why is this only becoming an issue now? It's been in the Netherlands for hundreds of years, so why is it only becoming an issue now? I don't understand that. So my sort of conclusion would be that if this was a specific case of stirring up hatred against black people in the Netherlands, I could understand them being concerned and angry. But the point is, it's not intended as a racist thing. It's really not. This is not comparable to black people being lynched in the United States. Let's get some sense of context here and some sense of proportion. I mean, would I be offended if black people wore white paints? No, I wouldn't care. In fact, I would point out a music video recently by the British group Clean Bandit, relatively recent. It was a song called Mozart's House. Check it out. It's a great feel-good song, electro song. At the end of that video, they have the black guy in the video sort of pouring white yogurt or something over his face, and the white guy is pouring chocolate over his face. Obviously they're making a play on what is and what isn't, but both those guys, I think it's very creative, I think it's pretty cool. And no way is it racist, because obviously the black guy is taking part in it. Check it out, it's called Mozart's House, it's an electro song. But basically, I want to hear from Dutch people especially, what do you think of it? Do you think it is racist and should be banned? Do you think this is political correctness? Do you think it's a Dutch tradition that doesn't hurt anyone? Do you think it should stay but maybe have some amendments? What do you think? So I particularly want to hear from Dutch people. Thank you.